Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be in conversation with Irène Hill from Oxford Brookes University about her virtual exchange with an institution in Algeria. But Irène, before I ask you about that, please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you do and where you're based.
Hello, everyone. I'm a lecturer originally in French studies, but then it morphed into a lot of different programs. But now I'm a lecturer on the modern languages with translation at Oxford Brookes University. I'm also the program lead for modern languages, and I obviously have been involved in many of validations, and one of the area that we particularly wanted to pay attention to is employability. And it's part of the benchmark nowadays for modern language degree. But I think for any degrees, to be honest.
Yes, it's hard
Um,
right now.
yeah. So one of the areas that I was very keen to pick up was to look at that aspect for our linguists, and therefore created a module focused on employability.
Okay, so your virtual exchange was with an institution in Algeria, and it's interdisciplinary in that you have come with your languages and some business students on the other. You've partnered with some business students in Algeria. So I understand your virtual exchange was integrated into an existing course called Cultural Competence for the World of Work, as you were talking about employability. So tell us a bit about how that was structured and with your partner in Algeria.
Thank you, Lorenza. Yeah, it all started during COVID when I looked into virtual exchange. I mean, we all developed quite extensively within the period of COVID, looking at how technology could help us. So, having attended the course from Erasmus at the time, but UNICollaboration and yourself teaching it, I met a partner in Algeria, and I realized that one of the things that would be really exciting is to link language student, and not just the language that I'm teaching, the French language that I'm teaching, but also the students that are studying Spanish, the students that are studying Japanese. So to have our language students on the Modern Languages with Translation program, linked with a partner university that did offer students not from a language background. So the purpose was not for them to practice their language, which I think very often is the way to look at virtual exchange, especially in my area, my
Yeah.
subject area. So that was the starting point. And one of the things that I really like with Batna One in Algeria is they were scientists, agricultural scientists. So they linked with the industry and looked at product. And then we thought, what could they bring together is a business project that would link their specialism, knowing about product, agricultural product, and mine knowing about communication, giving them a business project, which was quite simple in a sense, because it's the idea is that you would market an Algerian agricultural product to the UK market. So
Mm.
how would you import it? What would you do to convince a retailer in the UK to import that product from Algeria?
I understand you had teams of about four, two from Algeria and two from the UK. And there appeared to be about five steps of things they had to do in this module. Can you just outline briefly what the students had to do? And then I'm going to focus on the fourth element, which I believe was the virtual exchange core aspect. But how did they start off? What did they have to do?
The module is cultural competence for the world of work. So a language student in particular needs to demonstrate they can actually communicate in a foreign language, but are able to work across culture and across the world and so forth. So for us, cultural competence is one of the employability skills that we want to make sure our student can give example
Mm.
that. One of the things that is quite funny is students tend to think, oh, I'm very good at that. I love going abroad. I love going on holidays. I love meeting new culture. My cultural competence is really good. But what they do not grasp is the ability of transfer, yes, some tendency to be good at discovering, but then to place that into the world of work, because then there's much more that is needed than just nice communication and understanding. There's ability to actually adapt the way you work for it to be successful. So one of the first elements that I do in the module is I get them to do a CQ Pro assessment, which measure cultural intelligence and cultural values. So it's an external survey. Brooks pay for it, and then the student fill in the survey, and then they get the results. And from those results,
Were
quite
they surprised then at
yeah,
how, yeah, they'd overestimated their sort of interculturality, had they? I've
yeah,
heard it
exactly.
before.
So that's a really good starting point, because there's some areas where, they will demonstrate that they're good at preparing, wanting to go, and but then it's the reflecting after if something doesn't go right, the reflection and learning from that. And there's quite a lot of areas that they're able to delve into. So that survey gives them an insight to their cultural competence. It's a quite interesting one, because the reflection asks them therefore to focus on attitude, knowledge, skills from experience they've had, and identify some outcomes. Okay,
Mhm.
I might not be as good as I think and plan. So that's the
Interesting.
starting point. Then, obviously, within the module, we have quite a lot of discussion, and we look at the typical scholar, Hofstede, Trompenas, and also Edward Hall, the communication theory. So we looked at that, and we looked at the studies, what they've done, and in what way can we think when we go and work abroad, or we go and work with people from different cultures, what we can pay attention to.
Mm.
Um, and then it's all can stay in the theoretical perspective, but then bringing in the COIL project, engaging in something that is not natural to them, because we give them a project, we put them into groups and people they do not know, and working on top of it online. So engaging in the COIL project is effectively an authentic assessment.
I'm hearing that there's quite a lot of preparation within the module before they get into the virtual exchange with their Algerian peers. So, with the survey and an assessment of how they're coping with other cultures and all that sort of thing, and employability skills. So the fourth aspect is when they start engaging, the fourth component, should I say, is when they start engaging with their Algerian peers. And they have to design a poster, I believe, and talk about a product and etc. So tell us a bit more about that virtual exchange aspect. How did that work? And were they motivated and enthusiastic to engage with,
Oh,
like,
then
outside of their comfort zone, really, wasn't it?
students get very upset when they can't have control of who they'll be working with in terms of the groups.
Oh.
Because even in the class where I'm mixing all different languages, different programs, so it's not just the student I know, it's also students from other subject area. And one of the thing is I do not let them choose, even on the British side, who they're going to work with. I go alphabetically,
Right.
bang, 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 and same with the Algerian. We do the same thing. And therefore, that's it. They're in a group of six. Generally, it's balanced. We try to balance Algerian to British in equal numbers. Obviously, depending on each year, we have to have some differences at times. But effectively, one of the things is that we get them also not to choose a product. We give them a product.
Hmm.
Some product can be seen as, oh, I do know, olive oil or dates. Oh, great, I know that product. But then the market is saturated by people that are getting olive oil from Spain, from Italy. How are you going to do it for Algerian oil?
Right. So,
Um, the other thing is sometimes we give them product they don't even know, green wheat, or saffron. They do know because I mean the Spanish a lot would know and everything, but having said that, is how often do we use saffron in the UK? How are we going to do it? So every single product has got some knowledge from each of the students, but some challenges. The idea is there you go. You have your team, you have your expertise. Now create the outputs, which is, as you say, just a poster that supports a campaign, and then a video presentation, 5 minutes, where they actually got to do this pitch for the product.
okay. So after all this, what are, in the main, what are some of the interesting things that working this way threw up for them? What did you notice, and what did they notice about themselves, shall we say?
Is getting past the hurdle of working online and developing social relationships. There's no doubt, everybody knows that if a group is gelling, is going well, is communicating, is responsive, then the likelihood is the output will be best.
Okay.
So there's that importance. And in fact, some of the early session of the project is to do learning to get to know the other,
Yes, of course. You
and
can't
getting.
work together if you don't know each other, really, can you?
So it's getting them to do that first, getting them to choose the way of communication. So obviously we do as the training for virtual exchange recommends, we do 5 sessions with them, 1 hour session online altogether through Zoom. But outside that, it's up to them to choose whether they're going to communicate as a subgroup through Instagram, through Google Drive, to share some documents. And so we let them. So that also is challenging for certain students who are used to get to what do I need to do? It's not
Yes, yes,
your
yes.
group to decide. It's,
Right,
the end product, you are together, you need to do the middle
right.
on your own. So that is the major challenge, really.
Mm. So you asked them, I believe, at the end to do some self-reflection. Can you share a couple of reflections that came up after this project for them?
Some of them focused on the fact that it's not a language exercise. So some of them do say it's an interesting area to dive into due to the fact that we did not share the same native language. So that is something that they discover. And in
Mm.
fact, it was quite interesting in some of the session when you're in the breakout room, you give them a task to work as a group, and you come into the breakout room. Sometimes they go into a foreign language that they've
Yes,
got in
yes,
common. And
yes.
instead of being the dominant English and they'll go into, oh, I know French, I'll talk French to the Algerian. Oh, we
Fantastic.
know Spanish, and suddenly they go into Spanish. Or even there was one student that realized that she understood the Arabic.
Yeah, excellent.
So
All
it was
sorts of
quite funny.
multi-layered
Yeah.
learning going on there. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
there's this aspect about the fact that it's interesting in terms of communication.
Right.
The feedback came with that. Another thing was that something that does challenge them is they felt that the speed of working was on the slower end of average. And that's, for some students, that's a frustration.
Frustration. Yeah.
And also the fact that they've got to adapt to a timeline that works for the Algerian as well as for their own
That's a
timeline.
massive learning, though, isn't it, in terms of work? Because we're used to having things done when we want, and so to have that understanding that not everyone works like that and there are different ways and time scales for doing things is really, really important, isn't it?
Yeah, and in fact, I mean, that person put, in my honest opinion, it is difficult to know what we could have done to better prepare for this aspect of the project. But it has definitely helped me to become more aware of the possibility that these challenges might arise at different points in the future.
Excellent.
One of the things that happens, and it's accidental, is obviously the fact that my module is set in second semester, and it clashes at times with Ramadan.
Sure.
Therefore, the time of ability to work and not work, not in the evening and thing, they have to sort it out.
Okay.
To respect the other culture needs in the evening of Ramadan.
Absolutely.
So someone is very much thinking that it was great to work with the Algerian culture, because as much as they know certain countries, they've been in Europe quite a lot. Generally, they've never been to Algeria.
No, no.
And in fact, that is something that I did not think about when we chose partners. But in fact, it was one of the nice results of our partnering, because they haven't been, and they got. And in fact, one of the success is a student that did this project. It's in the second year. Eventually, decided to do a year abroad. She went to Morocco.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's a side,
that's the result,
little story, but in a sense, it's quite a nice story.
Poignant, isn't it?
It opened their eyes to countries there.
Possibilities and different countries. One final thing briefly before I let you go, Irene. You've been seeking to take this project outside of the classroom and into the community. What are some of the challenges you're coming across?
Yes, one of the things that Algeria has been able to secure is the involvement of the farmers. So the student, and that's really nice when you look at the videos that they produce. There's obviously the Algerian, let's say it's about dates. They would visit the farmer, and they would look at it's being produced. They would take a lot of film of it. They would talk to the farmer, gets quite a lot of information, and then decide, okay, that a production is very traditional, it's whatever. So they'll get lots of elements on the product that the Algerian student can bring to the group.
Right.
They decide to market to the UK. I have been trying to get a couple of retailers in the UK to get involved, to tell me what helps you in terms of deciding whether or not to take a product into your shop.
Right. No luck so far.
So far, no luck. I've tried big companies, smaller companies, chains, and they're not as generous with their time, which is a real frustration for me, because just one session to our student telling them, okay, I'm looking at, would I take couscous in my shop? What would make? Is it the price that matters? Is it the way it's done? Is it, what would be the thing I would think about? Would be really good addition to the project.
Well, we'll put that shout out there to any retailers. And thank you so much for your time today, Irene. It's really, really been interesting.
Thank you. It's a very enjoyable project, and you get a lot of surprise of how a student think of a new way of giving you that push towards getting their product. If I can say one thing for virtual exchange, it put them in a situation to exactly innovate in that way.
And Irene, what about recognition for the students? Do you get any certification or badges or whatever?
Yes, one of the great things is I submit the output, the posters and the videos to UNICollaboration, and it enables us to demonstrate that they have successfully completed that virtual exchange project, and they get out of it the open badge virtual exchange, which students are able to put on their LinkedIn and get the certification and talked about it at interviews to employers.
That's really good. And you get a badge as well for your involvement in virtual exchange as well, don't you, as a practitioner?
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
Exactly, exactly.